Yes, sir.
నీ వాయిస్ ఏంటి? హలో,
Yes, sir.
ఆర్ ఏబుల్ టు హియర్?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what we discussed in the previous class, we discussed about the Docker. So you want to discuss about the Docker volumes, right? Docker volumes. Yeah, I will give you one PPT. What is that? Mm, yeah, I'm sharing. Are able to see my screen, right?
Yes, 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 sir.
So we already discussed this one, right? Docker virtualization, containerization, conclusion, Docker installation we did. Docker commands also we did, right? Docker terminology, you already know the Docker terminology, right? Docker file, Docker image, Docker content, Docker registry, and Docker engine. You already know, right? Right?
Yes, sir.
Creation of the Docker file creation, Docker tag, push Docker image to the repository, right? So this is the build. So from the build Docker image, there is a Docker hub public repository. You are pushing that public repository. From there, you are pushing to the missions, whatever it may be. If it is a prod, if it is a non-prod, or if it is a dev, if it is a QA, right? So Docker file creation, we already know Docker file creation, copy, add, run. What is the difference between CMD, workdir, label, user exposure, the Docker file, route assigning to a Docker file. So this is from Ubuntu Docker file. We can from the Docker file we can build the Docker images. So from the Docker images we can run the Docker container. So this is the container port and the EC2 post EC2 port. Understood?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
understood.
Yes, sir.
Understood.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. From Ubuntu Docker file to build, Docker images, Docker image to run, Docker container, port number 8080. Okay. Understood? So Docker volumes, Docker volumes. So index.hm. So we have a two containers. So we have a two containers running in the mission, right? So in this two container, we want to share this index.html file in the two containers. Okay. Container one and container two. Is it possible? So in the Docker volumes, what you can create the Docker volume and you can share this index file to the both the servers. So right, so Docker volumes mounted to EC2 instances. So how you can Docker volumes are mounted to EC2 instance. This is the container. This is the EC2 instance. So here you can create the file. Here you can create the file and attach it to the file, mounted to the file. Docker host server, Docker container. This is the EC2 instance. Okay. Understood? Yeah. So Docker volumes are used to persist the data generated by the Docker container. Using Docker volumes, we can do decoupled data storage from Docker container. Using Docker volume, we can share the data among multiple Docker containers. Using using Docker volume, we can share the data among multiple Docker containers. Docker containers. On deletion of a container, Docker volume will not be deleted. Will not be deleted. So how you can create the Docker volume commands? You can create the Docker volumes to display the Docker volume commands. Docker volume hyphen help create a Docker volume. Docker volume name. Display Docker volumes. Docker volume ls. Inspect the volume. Docker volume inspect. Remove Docker volume. Docker volume rmo. Remove unused volumes. So how you can remove the unused volumes? Docker volume porno. This is the Docker volume commands. Right. I will show you. I will show you yeah how to create the how we can share the how you can share the from how you can share the data from one container to another container. So this is the container, this is the container. For example, you shared here you kept it the index.html here. You are sharing this host file, right? This is crashes, so the container crashes, right? The Docker one volume creation, how you can create the Docker volumes? Docker pull, I will give you this in Chrome. Right, what is this? aws.amazonconsole.com. So aws.amazon.console. So this is the sign into the console. Sign into the console, signing as a root account. So what is that? bluejtech29.com. So what is the MFA? Zero 46487. Okay, EC2 instance. So launch EC2 instance. What this is? This is a Docker volume. So Docker volume. So I'm using the Amazon Linux 2 free tier eligible. Okay, I am using the T2 instance, same as T2 micro. Key pair, what key pair I need to select? I can select the key pair as I will select the key pair. What is that? Blue Jet key. Blue Jet key. 1 second, guys. Mouse into mouse. Yeah, 1 second. The downloads, what is the key? My first EC2 instance. My 26. My 26 to, so this is there. Okay, I'm using this key pair. Selecting 22, 8 GB is enough. Okay, so launch instance. EC2 instances. Okay, it's running, right? What I directly will do, We'll connect through public DNS. What is the public DNS? This is the public DNS. I'm connecting from here, putty. Okay, so this is the putty. This is the IP address, SSH, auth, credentials, browse. What is that? Downloads. What is that? My first EC2 instance. Yeah, I have a PPT. Session, open, accept, EC2 iPhone, user, change settings, appearance, change, bold, 18, apply, apply. Yeah. So now I'm going to sudo su. Okay. So what is that? What is that? Docker commands. Docker is installed. M install Docker. Yeah, it installing the Docker. Yeah, it's completed, right? Docker, Docker volume hyphen help. Right. So what are the commands? Docker volume manages volumes. So you can use Docker volume command create, Docker volume inspect, Docker volume ls, Docker volume pwn, Docker volume rm, Docker volume update. So Docker volume create is nothing but a create the volume. Inspect is nothing but a display detailed information of detailed information detailed information on one or more volumes. Ls is nothing but a list volumes. Porn is nothing but a removed unused local volumes. RM is nothing but a remove one or more volumes. Update is nothing but update a volume. Okay. So what is that? So you execute the command docker volume. So docker volume name. If you want to create a docker volume, you can create the docker volume name. Vol hyphen one, for example. So vol hyphen one. How you can create a docker volume? Next command create, then only, right? Create a volume one. So cannot connect to the docker daemon. Okay. Systemctl start docker docker. You can create the docker volume one. You see, volume one is created. Ls. How you can check the docker volumes? Docker volume ls. Okay. So volume is created. So docker volume inspect volume name. What is the volume name? Vol 1. So Docker volume 1, vol 1. It's a inspect of the Docker volume. This is the driver is local, labels equal to none, var lib Docker volume 1 data. So name equal to var 1. Okay. So this is the Docker volume. You want to remove the Docker volume. Docker volume. Docker volume rm volume name. What is the volume name? Vol hyphen 1. So what Docker volume is removed. Docker volume prune. It will prune the everything. Okay, total reclaimed space is 0. Docker volume ls. Docker volume ls. There is no Docker volumes. Okay. Docker volume ls. There is no Docker volumes. So yeah, so Docker volume creation, step 1, how you can create the Docker volume? Docker pull nginx. I'm pushing the nginx image, pushing the and downloading the nginx image. I need to run the docker run, docker images. Yeah, docker image is there. I want to run the docker container. Docker run hyphen name equal to web app 1. For example, my web app 1 hyphen d detached mode hyphen p port number 8080 is my default port number. I am host port and the server port. So what is that? Nginx is docker run hyphen name equal to web1 hyphen d hyphen p 8080 nginx. What is that? So unable to find the nginx latest locally. Docker error response from the d1 pull access denied for the nginx. So the repository does not exist or many may require docker login to denied requested access to the resources is denied. What is
Nginx
that?
spelling wrong.
Hmm? Very good.
Nginx spelling.
Nginx. Yeah, Docker is created. So access static website using the EC2VM public IP, which is hosted by the Nginx. You already know, right? But now I am creating a Docker container and which is accessing over the internet, right? For that purpose, we need to enable the security group. Which security group you want to enable? Go to the security groups. The security group. Click the security group. Edit inbound roles. SSH. Add a role. TCP. All traffic. I'm adding all traffic. Save the rules. Okay, all traffic. It will access the all the traffic. Let's see. Security group. EC2 instances. In the EC2 instances, what is the IP address of the server? The server IP address is, sorry, public IP address is, this is the one, http :/ IP address :80 :80. You see, welcome to Nginx. Guys, welcome to Nginx. Nginx is website is opened or not? Okay.
Sir.
Yeah. So what you can do, you can modify the static website content in the index.html file. File is available in the container. How you can log into the Docker container, guys? Docker ps. So Docker ps, yes. So about a minute ago, the status is up and running and the port is 8080. Okay. So this is the container ID. How you can connect to this container? Docker exe executable -it integrated terminal web app. What is that? Web app 1. What is the form? Bin bash. How you can connect this server? You can connect this server bin bash. You see? So now you are in the container. You logged into the container. How you can log into the container? You can log into the container by using docker exe-it web app bin bash. Web app bin bash. Understood? So
Sir,
now you
yes,
able
sir.
to, yeah.
Sir,
So
one
where
doubt,
is that
sir.
file?
If you have two downstairs containers, then I will be searching the internet. Which one will come, sir?
You are?
మన దగ్గర రెండు అప్లికేషన్స్ ఉన్నాయి సార్, రెండు
అవును,
కంటైనర్స్
రెండు
లో
అప్లికేషన్
పెట్టాము.
అవునవునవును.
అప్పుడు మనం ఇంటర్నెట్ లో సెర్చ్ చేస్తే ఏదొస్తుంది సార్ రెండిట్లో?
రెండు అప్లికేషన్స్ రన్ చేస్తున్నావు, రెండు
రెండు
నెట్వర్క్,
కంటైనర్స్.
రెండు Nginx ఉన్నాయి.
అప్పుడు ఏదొస్తుంది ఇంటర్నెట్ లో?
అక్కడ స్పెసిఫై చేస్తాం అనమాట. మన డాక్యుమెంట్ రూట్ లో స్పెసిఫై చేస్తాం, ఈ పోర్ట్ నెంబర్కి ఇది రావాలి, ఈ పోర్ట్ నెంబర్కి ఇది రావాలి అని. ఓకే. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఒక డాకర్ కంటైనర్ లో అపాచీ నా ఎన్జిఎన్ఎక్స్ అవుతుంది, ఇంకొక డాకర్ కంటైనర్ లో ఏ రన్ అవుతుంది, టామ్ క్యాట్ రన్ అవుతుంది. టామ్ క్యాట్ పోర్ట్ నెంబర్ ఏమో 8080, అవునా? సో 8080 అని ఇక్కడికి వెళ్ళి 88 అనే ఇవ్వంగానే ఇక్కడికి వెళ్ళి 8080 అనే ఇవ్వంగానే వెల్కమ్ టు టామ్ క్యాట్ అని వచ్చింది. ఇక్కడికి వెళ్ళి జస్ట్ 80 ఇవ్వంగానే వెల్కమ్ టు ఎన్జిఎన్ఎక్స్ అని వచ్చింది. ఓకే, అర్థమైందా?
ఓకే, మనం పోర్ట్ నెంబర్స్ చేంజ్ చేయాలి సార్.
పోర్ట్ నెంబర్ స్పెసిఫై చేయాలి. ఓకే, సిడి యుఎస్ఆర్ షేర్ హెచ్టిఎంఎల్. No such file or directory. How it came this one? Okay. CD nginx. Yeah, I changed it to, so welcome to BlueJ Technologies, right? Hmm? Hello, Prem.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, now let's try to see. You see, welcome to BlueJ Technologies. It's changed to welcome to BlueJ Technologies. Thanks. So welcome to BlueJ Technologies. Change it to welcome to BlueJ Technologies, right? So I'm stopping this container. What is that? I'm stopping the container. How you can start it? How you can exit from this Docker container? Just exit command. Okay, it will exit. So next, I want to stop the Docker container. How you can stop Docker PS. So what are the Docker containers running? So this is the Docker container running. I want to stop this Docker container. Docker stop. Docker stop container ID. Okay. Docker stop container ID. Okay. Now let's check Docker PS. So Docker the Docker containers are not running. Docker stopped. So now Docker run Docker run hyphen name equal to web app 2. I'm creating a name as called as a web app 2 hyphen p 8080 nginx. Okay, Docker PS. It is running, right? Now let's execute the same command. Your doubt will clear. Yeah. So I'm running in the same container. That container I running as a nginx image. So with the name call it as a web app 2. With name call it as a web app 2. Okay. So the modified content should be displayed here or not? Not.
Yes,
For
sir.
example, this Docker container, the other Docker container, right? The container is crashed. The container is crashed. So you created another container. Another container, right? You created a name, call it as a another container, but then that index.html is changed. That index.html is changed or not? Right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, right. For that purpose, you can create a Docker volume. What is that? Docker.
Sir, it is not like NVM, sir. It's different.
Different. Container doesn't have the space to create the volume, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this volume is will taken care from the create a new wall. So this is the Docker volume. New volume is created. Okay. So new volume is created. So start Docker container by mounting the Docker volume. How you can mount in the Docker volume? Okay. Docker run -d -name equal to web app 20 -mount. What is the mount source? So you created new volume. The source equal to new underscore volume. Okay, new underscore wall and the destination equal to /usr /share /nginx /html. Okay, -p port number 80:80 nginx. So this volume, whatever you created that volume, right? This volume will be mounted to nginx html. Okay, must be a key value pair. Okay, must be a key value pair. Docker run -d -name equal to nginx. Sorry, that Docker ps. Docker stop Yeah, container is stopped. Docker devock here, docker run -d -hyphen name web app 20 -hyphen name web app 20 -hyphen mount source source equal to new volume comma destination destination equal to usr share nginx usr share share is share nginx html -p nginx. Yeah. So this new volume, whatever you created the volume, right? That volume is mounted to /usr html. Okay. Now, so I want to connect to this container. Docker ps docker exec docker exec -it integrated terminal bin bash. What is that? I want to connect to the server. I want to connect to the container. Docker container. What is the container, guys? This is the container. Oh, shit. Docker exec -it. What is the name of Docker container? Web app 20 bin bash. Yeah, now it's connected to the Docker container. Cat /etc os -release. What is this? Debian Linux is installed. Okay. cd /usr share nginx html. Okay. So index.html. So here also echo welcome to BlueJ Technologies. Welcome to BlueJ Technologies. So the tag h1 tag, we will give the h1 tag. Okay. Now let's check it. Yeah, welcome to BlueJ Technologies. But this HTML is mounted on. So this HTML is this HTML.index.html is mounted to new volume, right? New volume. Then you can create another one. Docker run -d -name equal to web app 21 mount source equal to new underscore wall destination equal to /usr /share /nginx /html
సార్ ఆ
-p
కంటైనర్ లో ఉన్న
80
లాగ్స్ అన్ని కూడా దాంట్లో ఉంటాయి సార్.
లాగ్స్ కాదు మన
కంటైనర్ కి సంబంధించిన లాగ్స్ అన్ని కూడా
I will tell you. Command not found. Docker not found. Oh, sorry. You're executing this command in the container, right? Exit. Yeah, Docker container, Docker error response daemon, driver failed programming external. So because of you gave the web app 21 and the port number 8080, right? Before that, what you need to do, you need to stop the container. Stop. What is the container?
Other port number, sir.
Let's try this.
లేకపోతే మనం వేరే కంటే వేరే పోర్ట్ నెంబర్ ఇవ్వచ్చు సార్.
9090. So the same container, right? The same container. So we will not give the 8080. Let's stop the Docker stop. What is the container ID or web app 21? Stop the web app 21. Now let's try to access this 80 80 80. What happened? The same command, right? Whatever the command we are executing for the 21 22 20 20. Yeah, this is the command, right? So we are executing for this same command for the 21. Error response for the daemon conflict. The container name web app 21 is already in use by container. So you have to remove that container to be able to reuse that name. Docker run docker ps-a. Hey, it's running. Docker rm yeah, up and running, right? Now you can try to run this destination 20. You can create as a 21. It's created, right? The source, so let's see. Here also it is showing welcome.10. So but before what it's showing nginx, right? So before what it's showing in this, so first you created the web app one, then you say you changed the file, then stopped the container and you can run the same, but then the time it will shows the that nginx. Nginx, right? For that purpose we need to share that the document, that file index.html. You can use the docker volume. If you create the docker volume and share that volume, it may be that file. So here, so this file is in mounted to here, right? So if you are running the web app 20, or if you are running the web app 21, or if you are running web app 22, because of this file contains the welcome to BlueJ Technologies. So welcome to BlueJ Technologies. Using a host file with the two containers, using a host file with two containers. So this is the host file with the two containers. Okay. So mounting the bounded volumes as a named volume. So bounded volume is nothing but a host directory mounting to the Docker container. Host directory. What is host directory? What is host? Host is nothing but a EC2. Host is nothing but a host is nothing but a EC2. ప్రేమ్ ఎంతసేపు అయింది మ్యూట్లో ఉండి?
10 minutes, sir.
సో 10 minutes నుంచి నువ్వు మరి నేను ఇవన్నీ రన్ చేస్తుంటే నువ్వు ఎందుకు పిలవట్లా? సో I created a host mount. Host mount is nothing but a, so we can create the mount point in the host mission, EC2 mission, and we can map it to the container the container directory. Okay, so now I created the index.html in the host mount file. The host mount file I created, but this file is sharing to the container mount point. Container mount point. Understood?
Sir, ఒకసారి చెప్పండి సార్.
నీకు బొమ్మ ఎత్తా. సో ఇప్పుడు దాకా ఏం చేసాము? ఒక మౌంట్ పాయింట్ క్రియేట్ చేసి ఆ మౌంట్ కి అటాచ్ చేసాము. అవునా?
Yes, sir.
This is nothing but a Docker volume. Docker contains a volumes. So we created the Docker volumes and attached to our Docker volume, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is the Docker volume. So one time we stopped this one, another time we start this one. 1 second. It చేశాను. Using host file with 2 containers. So we created a Docker volume here and we attached it to 2 containers, right? So for this one time I stopped this container and I started this second container, right? But I don't want to use the Docker volumes. So there is a possibility called as we can create the directory in the host mission. Host mission means our EC2 mission. Okay, our EC2 mission I created a directory and attach it to the Docker container. Okay, if Docker container crashes, my deployment data will not crashes. You can create another container and you can attach it to the Docker container. This is the purpose we are creating a Docker volume. If container crashes, so for example, you deployed the code in the Docker container. Okay. You deployed this code. For example, this in user share nginx html in this directory having your deployment code. For example, Docker container crashes. So your deployment code will be crashed or not? Prem, ఒకవేళ నీ ఇప్పుడు కంటైనర్లో ఏం పెట్టాం మనము? నీ కంటైనర్లో ఏముంది?
index.html.
index.html. ఈ index.html ఏంటిది? ఒక వెబ్సైట్.
Yes, sir.
ఈ వెబ్సైట్ నీ కంటైనర్ క్రాష్ అయిపోతే వెబ్సైట్ క్రాష్ అవుతుందా లేదా?
Yes, sir.
నీ కంటైనర్ క్రాష్ అయిపోతే నీ కోడ్ క్రాష్ అవుతుందా లేదా?
Yes, sir. Crash అయింది.
ఎస్, రైట్. సో నా కంటైనర్ క్రాష్ అయినా పర్వాలేదు, నా డిప్లాయ్మెంట్ నా కోడ్ ఉండాలి. ఆ కోడ్ నేను మళ్ళీ వేరే కంటైనర్ రన్ చేసి ఆ కంటైనర్కి అటాచ్ చేసుకుంటా. ఓకే,
సార్ ఇందాక కూడా అదే చేసాం సార్, అంటే
అది చేసాం, కాకపోతే అదేంటి డోకర్ వాల్యూమ్. డోకర్ వాల్యూమ్ అంటే డోకర్కి పోతే డాకర్ వాల్యూమ్ కూడా పోతుంది కదా,
ఓకే సార్.
రైట్?
డాకర్
సో
కంటైనర్స్ పోతే డాకర్ వాల్యూమ్ కూడా పోతుంది సార్.
పోదు, బట్ సో దిస్ ఈస్ డిఫికల్ట్, రైట్? సో నువ్వు
ఎస్
జస్ట్
సార్.
నీ నీ EC2 ఇన్స్టెన్స్ లో విఎం క్రియేట్ చేసుకొని దానికి ఒక అదే నీ EC2 ఇన్స్టెన్స్ లో డైరెక్టరీ క్రియేట్ చేసుకొని దానికి మౌంట్ చేసుకోవడం ఈజీయా? నువ్వు డోకర్ వాల్యూమ్స్ క్రియేట్ చేసి డోకర్ వాల్యూమ్స్ ఎప్పుడు రన్ లో ఉండి అవన్నీ చేయటం ఈజీయా?
డైరెక్టరీ క్రియేట్ చేయడం ఈజీ సార్.
సో ఈజీ అవుతుంది. ఓకే, సో ఇదేంటిదంటే డైరెక్ట్ గా బౌండ్ మౌంటింగ్ అంటారు, బౌండ్ వాల్యూమ్స్ అంటారు. ఓకే,
ఓకే సార్.
host directory mounting to a docker container. So how can I mount my host mission directory to a docker container? That is called as a bind mounting concept. What is that? What is that? Bind mounting. Okay, so as of now, what we discussed: virtualization, containerization, Docker, advantages, setup, terminology, Docker file, Docker image, Docker hub, Docker container, image commands, container commands, Docker file, Docker volumes, named volumes, bind mount volumes. చూసామా?
Yes sir.
So real world applications. What are the real world applications? Monolithic architecture, microservice architecture. I already told you, right? What is monolithic and what is microservice architecture?
Yes sir.
Yeah, monolithic architecture means everything will be part of one project. Monolithic applications are very difficult to maintain. So microservices, these whole functionality of the application divided into several sub projects which are easily maintainable. Set of APIs will be available and every API is one application. So every API will one container. So for example, Make My Trip is implemented in microservices architecture. So flights in one API, trains in one API, businesses are one API. So in the real time, all are using microservices. So monolithic means, so monolithic architecture application, one in one Docker container. Microservice based application, for example, your e-commerce, so product API. Once you select the products, right? That is a product cart. Then so once you selected, then you can need to move to cart. Cart is one API. It deployed on the one container. So the next payment. So once the cart is added, then we need to run the payment. We need to pay the payment, right? This is the one payment. Then we need
Sir,
to track the API.
Sir, for every
Every
microservice, there will be different portals, no?
different port to different container.
Ah.
Okay, na? So microservice based applications. Here flights, here trains, business, buses. So right, we have a three modules. So before that, everything will be in one container, but now we are in the microservice based application. So flights in one container, trains in one container, buses in one container. So in the real world, applications are getting developed using microservice architecture. In microservice architecture, several APIs will be available. Every API is a project and it should run in a container. Running multiple containers manually for all APIs is difficult job. To solve this problem, Docker Compose came into the picture. Docker Compose is a tool which is used to manage multiple containers based on application. Using Docker Compose, we can define, deploy multiple containers based on the applications. But here what we are using the Kubernetes. Okay. So same like we will use the input to a Docker Compose using YAML file to run the multiple containers. Docker Compose YAML file should have information related to our services. Sample Docker Compose file. So version, services, network, volume. So we can give that like that. Okay.
API and
Hmm?
API and sir.
Application interface. Huh? Okay. Yeah. So I want to something like what is that? So Kubernetes is very easy. Not getting started automatically. Single host nature of your Docker container. Auto healing, auto scaling, enterprise load balancing, firewall, auto scale, healing, API gateways. Who is solving these problems? Kubernetes. Docker having a no auto scaling and no auto scaling and no auto healing. So who will auto healing? So Kubernetes will auto heal all these problems. Okay. I will start from tomorrow this Kubernetes. Okay, Prem.
Okay, sir.